Before I found Authentic Intimacy, I felt really alone in my journey. I didn't know any other Christians who really struggled with sexual identity, sexual confusion. I thought there was so much shame attached to it, and so I just kept it secret. In January 2020, I was kind of thinking, well, I'm same-sex attracted. I don't know how to tell my parents. It would be easier, I think, if they just found out that I was dead than for me to be like, Mom, Dad, I'm gay.
Before I found Authentic Intimacy, I felt confused, alone, and misunderstood. So many things aren't talked about within the church, whether it was pornography, infidelity, same-sex attraction, all of these painful sex, all of these things that we were experiencing. As I moved forward with the divorce, I remember being in different places where I just felt stuck.
As I get to do pastoral counselings, almost every conversation comes back to some story about sexuality and brokenness.
I remember when my kids were teenagers, sometimes they tease me about leading a ministry about biblical sexuality. And I remember one time I said to them, you know, I talk about sex, but the reason I talk about sex is because I want people to know God. And for so many people, sexuality represents a wound where they feel alone, they feel isolated, and they don't know where God is. My heart is to take that wound, to begin to talk about it so that we can approach the truth and the love of God and reconnect with His heart for us.
Authentic Intimacy is a resource.
If you go to the website, there's a whole section called Single and Sexually Whole. You can see the podcast, articles, videos.
Going to the podcast was like, there's this place that is giving me the depth that I'm looking for, but also bringing me to God's truth.
It is a community. I think for me, Authentic Intimacy is where I have found a lot of answers to a lot of hard questions. And really, it's been a discipleship tool for me in my marriage, for me in my parenting, and for me as a pastor.
I think what really hooked me was the raw authenticity of like, hey, the church has not gotten this right. Purity culture, best intentioned, failed us in a way. And then they come to Authentic Intimacy or sexual discipleship, and it's like you're speaking the words that I have never been able to say.
There was a place where people were talking about this, where I just didn't have to feel like I had to figure it out on my own.
I am now a spouse of a trauma survivor. Authentic Intimacy really gave us the tools and the framework to help us to start navigating some of these complexities in our marriage.
And it completely shifted how I was able to grieve and move forward.
What we do at Authentic Intimacy is we disciple people in their sexuality, and we do that through a variety of resources. Through the Java with Juli podcast that is tackling relevant, real issues, our blog, our books with online book studies so people can be in virtual communities growing and learning together. We have events and conferences. We have training for Christian leaders, lay leaders or professional Christian leaders who want to understand, how do I integrate sexual issues with the gospel truth? And so our heart is to see God raise up an army of people who are equipped not just with answers, but with His heart and how we steward our sexuality.
If you're feeling discouraged, if you're feeling hopeless, I just want to speak into that and say that there is hope, and this ministry can help you.